All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. It is Wednesday, and it's time for the Steve Malzberg Show. Thanks for being out there. The Malzberg panel will make an early appearance today in just moments. But first, something that struck me, I think we might have made, until yesterday, I didn't mention Bruce Jenner or whatever his name is, Caitlyn Jenner, whatever. It was brought up by one of our panelists yesterday, if you recall. I hadn't gone there. I have no interest in this whatsoever, but I do have an interest in this. ESPN is going to exploit the hell out of this whole Bruce Jenner thing by giving him the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. The Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. Now, Arthur Ashe died of AIDS way back when. Of course, a great tennis player. The stadium at Flushing, U.S. Open's played at Arthur Ashe Stadium. But if they want to give it to him because they figure everybody in the world's going to tune in and watch, fine. It's a business, it's a ratings game. I don't have a problem with that. But you know who they could have given it to? And this isn't just me. I didn't just come up with this. This is trending on Twitter, and people are really outraged and upset. There was a woman named Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill played basketball for Mount St. Joseph's College basketball team. She had cancer. She stayed on that team until the very, very end. And she died very recently, April 10th. How could they give it to Bruce Jenner and not to her? There's another example. There's a guy named Noah Gardlang, I think his name is. He's missing an arm. He's missing a leg. He still participates in extreme sports, and he almost won Dancing with the Stars. I mean, there's another, great example of courage and real life, something that almost everyone could relate to in life, okay? But they're choosing to give it, in my opinion, to Bruce Jenner because they feel it's going to be oh, look at that! And people are going to tune in. And like I said, it's a ratings game and they have a right to do that. But shame, shame, shame on ESPN and the people who picked the ESPYs and that particular Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. It really stinks. Joining us now on the Malzberg panel to discuss this and so much more, Jane Velez-Mitchell, founder of JaneUnchained.com and author of the New York Times bestseller Exposed: The Secret Life of Jodi Arias, and also Tom Borelli, who's senior fellow at FreedomWorks. All right, Jane, I saw you making notes. I saw you gritting your teeth. I saw you like you were winding up like you're going to hit me. No, I'm only kidding about that. Is ESPN out of line here?
No, I think that Caitlyn Jenner is showing tremendous courage. There is nothing more frightening than after 65 years of living a lie, telling the truth. How do I know that? Because I came out as a lesbian late in life, and prior to that, I can tell you that I was walking around in what somebody very accurately described as a vertical casket. It's very hard to compare your outsides to somebody else's insides. I believe what Bruce Jenner went through during his tormented struggle, trying to be this hero, which he was. He was an extraordinary athlete. He represented America well. He was everything that America stands for, except inside he wasn't being true to himself. I applaud him for taking the most courageous decision and knowing he's going to come up against people like, respectfully, yourself, who are going to basically consider this some sort of shameful thing. It's not shameful. It is courage.
Don't put words in my mouth. And more frightening
Steve,
than a young girl dying of cancer?
Steve, I never realized sex change was a sport. I mean, this is, look, they could have a sex change sports award club. They could do anything they want on TV, but this is not a sport. They should remain it for heroes, and God knows our youth today need heroes to look up to. The woman who you mentioned, Lauryn Hill, was dying of cancer, and she went right down fighting. The disabled vets that are out there doing all those sporting events. I guess I missed it, Steve, when sex change is a sport. Let them have their own award show where they all congratulate each other.
He's not getting an award for a sex change. He was a legitimate hero in his own right.
Well, what does it have to do with today?
I'd like to see you throw a discus the way Bruce Jenner threw a discus.
Then they should have given him the award for throwing the discus when he won the triathlon
and all
that. I mean, I'm sure he's gotten plenty of awards along the way. But what really bothers me, what you said, Jane, is that right after I gave the example of Lauryn Hill and Noah. You said there's nothing more frightening than, and then you brought up a gender situation. And again, more frightening than a 19-year-old girl dying of cancer?
I'm a cancer survivor. I have tremendous respect for people who have experienced cancer and are suffering from cancer, but you're creating an either-or event. There are many heroes out there. And it was ESPN's award to pick, and they picked Caitlyn Jenner, and I say, good for you.
And Tom, they picked wrong.
Well, absolutely. Look, they could have any sport, any award show they want, but this should be ESPN Sports, I believe. And, you know, getting an award, you know, for this is not right in my mind. There's plenty of opportunities for other shows. Have your reality show, have ESPN reality show.
His whole conversion has been a reality show.
What about the
so
kids?
far.
What do you tell your 10-year-old and say, Daddy, why is this individual getting an award when they have these other people who aren't? Is this a sport, Daddy?
I think
How do
this
you
will
do
go
that?
a long way to combat the kind of bigotry against
What bigotry?
transgenders.
Oh, give me a break. But with bigotry against transgender, you know what there's bigotry against? Bigotry against a man who thinks he's a woman or says he's a woman and has a right now to go into a bathroom where an 8-year-old girl might be.
That's point.
Yeah? Are
You
you a parent?
point.
Are you a parent?
It doesn't matter.
Oh,
I'm
it
an
matters.
American.
And say
I'm an
no.
American, and
You're
I'm
an
a
American.
gay
Well, I'm a
American.
parent, and I'll tell you what. If I had a daughter, and if she was in the bathroom, and a 40-year-old guy walks in
60.
because he claimed he's a girl, I'd have a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
And so would the majority of Americans.
Listen, a
and
lot
that's
of
not bigotry.
also try to say, oh, gays have a tendency toward pedophilia when we know all the
Who said
big
that?
cases. Come on, that's what homophobes say.
Well, who
and we
said
know
that?
all
We're
the
not
big
talking-
cases
we're
are always
talking about
heterosexual
ESPN,
pedophiles.
the world's biggest
Heterosexual
sports
pedophiles
network.
preying. Your child can be preyed on by any number of heterosexuals.
Yeah, but I don't want.
We're trying to talk
they-
about sports, and
Yeah.
now somehow we're way out in left field.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to someone who, as far as I know, is heterosexual, Barack Obama, and here's what he told Israeli TV.
The danger here is that Israel as a whole loses credibility. Already, the international community does not believe that Israel is serious about a two-state solution. The statement the Prime Minister made compounded that belief that there's not a commitment.
All right, Tom, he's told Israeli TV that he may not be able to stop a vote at the UN for Palestinian statehood. He blamed Benjamin Netanyahu, who he said he really likes and has great conversations with. This comes on the heels of us finding out he told David Axelrod, quote, I'm the closest thing to a Jew.
Right.
You know, a Jew that's ever sat in the Oval Office. Boy, this man has really got problems with Jews and with other things. What do you make of this Israeli TV interview, Tom?
Well, you know, again, that's what a comment from our first Jewish president. Again, you know, you just have to laugh. Look, the clock is running. He feels more comfortable dealing with our enemies like Iran than he does trying to help our ally Israel. I mean, that's pretty clear. The clock is ticking. He needs some sort of Mideast deal. So why not, in his last few days, last year and a half, throw Israel under the bus? Completely consistent.
He's been doing it from the beginning.
Let me
Jane.
say this. First of all, I interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu when I was a cub reporter in New York, and he gave me a tour of Kristallnacht and was talking about that horrific event in history. And so I think that intolerance is something that he should know a lot about. And what we have is a situation here where we're waiting for the Palestinians and the Israelis to come up with a Middle East peace plan. It's like waiting for Godot. We have to move the ball a little bit. So I think that President Obama is trying to move the ball because nothing's going on. We're at a stalemate situation.
Well, do you understand?
And let me say this. I was just in Israel, and I was talking to people like Zippy Livni and people who really want to create peace. There is a huge peace movement in
they
Israel.
Lost.
And
they lost the
Benjamin
election.
Netanyahu does not represent a lot of the people in
He
Israel.
won the election, and much to the chagrin of Obama, who sent his advisors to beat him. By the way, how do you make peace with a government that in its charter is sworn to your destruction? Hamas. How do you do that, Jane?
Let me say this. I was in the in Jerusalem, in the Arab Quarter, and I had a lunch with my Jewish guide and the Arab owner of the restaurant. We all had a great time, and it taught me that peace is possible.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. Not in the real world.
Not in the real world.
The panel, believe it or not,
Black on
is
panel
coming
Earth.
back. They're going to let us stay on. Don't go away.
This place is you go to the end of the line.
Okay. May I have it?
Why don't you go to the end of the line?
Yeah, we'll take care.
Why don't you go to the end of the line? Get out of here. You know what? There's a woman with lots of problems relating to people, but she wants to be your champion. The panel's back, and rejoining us on the Malzberg panel, Tom Borelli, Senior Fellow at FreedomWorks, and Jane Velez-Mitchell, founder of JaneUnchained.com, author of New York Times bestseller Exposed, The Secret Life of Jodi Arias. All right, so we have that where she was yelling at a family to get to the back of the line, get to the back of the line, instead of just smiling and letting them take the picture. And now, did you know Hillary hasn't officially kicked off her campaign? That's right. She's going to do it on Roosevelt Island in New York on a weekend, and it's going to kick a bunch of toddlers and young children out of their scheduled event at the site where she's going to announce. And the headlines are Tone Deaf Clinton Campaign Throws Kids Off Playground. But she just wants to be like you, and she's a grandmother. Jane, I am just shocked at the behavior of Grandma Hillary Clinton.
Well, at least she's declared her candidacy, which is more than we could say for Jeb Bush, who has been dancing around that issue and therefore skirting campaign finance restrictions. What I'm saying is it's selective indignation. I mean, the obsessive, sadistic nitpicking of every single thing Hillary Clinton does. I'm sure you could find a way to criticize how she brushes her teeth in the morning.
Well, as long as she does, I don't really care how she does it, Tom.
Steve, let's face it, she has the political charisma of the Medusa. I'm surprised those people online didn't turn to stone. I mean, everything she touches turns to stone. She's throwing kids off Roosevelt Island. She's snarling at people on the line, waiting to see her, by the way. I mean,
you know what?
Look, the Democrats have to be getting nervous at this point because they put all her faith in her. And then there's Bill. Let's not forget about Bill. I don't think Bill wants to be first lady or man, whatever he's going to be.
Jane, you know, the polls show the decrease in likability, the increase in not trusting her. She's now within the margin of error, 3 points against several of the Republican candidates. Her numbers are tanking. The more she is out there, the more people are seeing. This is a 69-year-old woman who does not relate to people and is a zillionaire. Why do we want her as president?
Well, look, Romney was a zillionaire too, as you put
lost.
it. And let me say this. I think a lot of the criticisms that are directed at her would not be directed at her if she were a man. You know how it is. A woman who is strong is a B word. A man, no. And I think a lot of women are going to.
So then you like Carly Fiorina, then, right?
No, I don't like her policies.
Because she's a woman.
I don't know. I don't like her policies, but I think she's fabulous.
I don't like Hillary's policies.
I would like to know more about them. I'd like to talk about the issues.
Well, I'll give you some things right here. Federal officials voiced growing alarm over Hillary Clinton's compliance or non-compliance with record laws, according to documents. Over a 5-year span, senior officials at the National Archives and Records Administration expressed concern about how Hillary kept, as Secretary of State, kept her records, and they were afraid she was going to bolt with the records and the emails and the information, take them back with her that were required by law to stay. Now, I guess they all hate women too, right, Jane?
Well, let me say this. The article also pointed out that Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, during his time, also left with records.
There were no emails.
Listen,
they all do it.
The fact that you attack everything, and so many people who are her opponents attack every single thing she does, is Exhibit A as to why she keeps things close to the vest. Because anything she does is parsed over and dissected to the point of
so the law doesn't matter because people looking at her. I get to hide my emails.
Tom, I understand George Washington took a lot with him too.
Right, exactly.
All right, now wait a minute.
Henry VIII.
Now let's talk about some interesting facts here. George W. We're done. We're done. George W. Bush. George W. Bush, ladies and gentlemen, beats Obama in favorability in the latest poll, and H.W. Bush ties Clinton. Thanks, panel. Appreciate it. See you later.